how would you describe Lifebook for those who might not even know what it is at this point?
Well, Lifebook is a system that we created for ourselves to kind of get a grip on this crazy life that we all live. And what we did over the years is we identified the 12 categories of life that we felt that we had to master in order to have an extraordinary life. And then we just started going deep in each of this. It evolved over a 15-year period, Jason, and we never showed it to anyone for 15 years. Like, we used this as our tool to create what we created.
And we still use it.
Yeah, and then tell what happened after that with our friends.
Oh yeah, so we had used it for ourselves for 15 years or whatever, and our friends would kind of peek over and say, "How do you guys have?
What the hell is that book you're always carrying with you?
You have this big life and you make it work. So can you help us?" And what's that black book John always carries around? And so we started kind of opening up and showing. So basically, Lifebook is a way to discover who you are, what your values are, what you want in your life, what you believe life is about. And then from that clarity and consciousness that you bring to your life in each of these categories, then you build a life vision from that. And that is what pulls you forward to the vision of life that you want to live.
So once you dial in the person that you want to become and the life that you want to live with deep thinking, then you begin to move toward that with intention every day.
Yeah.
And it works every time for every person that really engages in it, because it's your stuff. Yeah. It's an empty system. Yeah. It's not following anybody else's rules. It's you figuring out your own life for yourself. Yeah. And we're just so blessed that we were chosen to bring this to the world. Never planned on it. We're accidental personal development authors.
But it's awesome.
Zero planning, but we're so happy to be.
We're happy to be here.
Well, it's great that you have shared it, because as I mentioned, it made a tremendous impact on my life. I know there's a lot of people here that's had massive impact. And I'm excited to have this conversation with you where we dig into that one category. Yeah. And so for everybody here, I'd love to hear who here is having questions around relationships or struggling with how are your relationships doing? And we're talking here romantic relationships with your partner. And what I want to remind everyone is we're going to probably have a Q&A portion towards the end of this. So make sure to use that function and up level the questions you want us to be able to ask. And with that, people here are discussing, people are looking for relationships. They are in one, they want to improve them. I remember when I actually just added one strategy. I was single. I added one strategy in my life book at the beginning of 2019. And it was basically just be open to moments of love. And for some reason, the person walked into my life. And now we've been together for a year and a half already. And that, like, to me, it just shows the power of being conscious, right?
Dude, you were one of our superstar stories. Your transformation physically and in every way was just absolutely extraordinary. Right. So gotta give you massive props.
Well, we always say
it's been a joy watching.
That's right. We always say the more you bring to this party, the more you get out. So
that's exactly right. And you went all out. You played full out.
Yeah, and that's what it takes, to get it.
And I'm also going to admit that it's not always been like easy. There's been times of struggles, and even in the category of relationship, I think is one that you got two people, they're coming together. So I'm excited to hear your premises here, because I know you have some different ways and innovative ways and crazy, amazing ways that you structure your relationship category. And I'm looking to be inspired, and I know I'm not alone. And so I wanted to kick it off with passing it to you, John and Missy. Like, what are we seeing here when we're talking about premises?
Okay, so these are the beliefs that we installed early on. I mean, so what we're trying to do in this call is we're trying to share like our foundational philosophy that took us 30 years to dial in 30 minutes. So
this is right out of our life books. Guys,
so we'll literally, I've never done this before outside of the life book community, but we got into our life book and we pulled out the 5 foundational premises that we built this love on. And so, should I just start? You ready, brother?
Go.
Okay.
I am ready.
Here was the first one. We made a conscious decision early on to create an incredible love affair that would last a lifetime. Like, we made a decision. And you guys, you know what? That's the beginning of anything you want in your life. Friggin' decide you want it and mean it. The word decision means to cut away. Incision means to cut in. Decision means to cut off. And what you do is you cut off all other possibilities. Like, this is where we're going. This is what we're doing. So here's what our life book says about that particular issue. We made a conscious decision to create an incredible love affair that would last for the rest of our lives in our first year together. We went all in. We thought deeply about what would be required to build that kind of a relationship. We defined exactly what it would look like in every area. Physically, what would our bodies look like? How would we be attracted to each other? Spiritually, emotionally, how would we connect? At what kind of a deep level? Sexually, intellectually, how would we learn and grow together? We friggin' thought it down. And most importantly, we defined the personality traits that we would need to cultivate in ourselves as individuals in order to create a love affair like that. So that was the first premise, is we are absolutely committed to create an extraordinary love affair that would last a lifetime. We put that stake in the ground.
And that's devotion. I mean, if you really want to talk about what the foundation is, it's devotion. It's devoting yourself. Each one of us devoted ourselves to go into this relationship, to make a new thing. So John and Missy said yes, and we'll make this new thing, which is our relationship. It really is a third thing.
And interestingly enough, Jason, we've said this over the years, this relationship created us, created who we are as individuals, way more than we created this relationship.
We grew together.
We grew together, and over the years, we became who we are as individuals, John and Missy, because of this union.
That's true.
It's true. And I always see you as a unit, and making that strong commitment. This is something that you both came together and you realized this is both what you wanted. So I was going to ask, when you see the Lifebook community, if someone's single right now and they make that decision, I bet it automatically filters the types of people you're going to partner yourself with, because if someone's not wanting to go there, it's already discarded.
And let me tell you something, man. One of the things that we have realized looking back 30 years, we were not smart enough to figure this out at the very beginning, but the true decision that you're making when you're asking yourself, am I prepared to go all in with this other person? Is this, is she the woman that I want to shape me for the rest of my life? And am I the man that she wants to shape her? Because that's really what
you're talking about.
That's what the masculine and feminine does. The masculine will go off the rails without the feminine, and the feminine will go off the rails without the masculine. And we need to friggin' shape each other. So is this the person that I want to have such a huge gravitational pull in my life that I become something different because of her, and vice versa? Yeah. That's a big ass question. And we just figured that out like in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful question. It makes you approach the relationship with such a different energy. And I feel like a lot of people are in this like paradox of choice. And, I myself sometimes have doubts in a relationship, yet when you decide to make that commitment, communicate it, I feel like I approach things differently. And I was going to ask you the question, is there such a thing as the wrong partner? Because if you're going in with that level of commitment, you're growing, can't you always grow together, or are there times that it's not work? Like, what's your stance on that?
Here's my thought on that. Yes, there is such a thing as a wrong partner. You can't make anything good without good ingredients. And that's, by the way, let me just read that, because that is literally one of our premises.
But wait, before you go there, I do like what you're saying though, Jason, because really one person could take full responsibility. And if that other person, it has the propensity to lean in when the other is calling,
it could make it work.
It could, yeah, for sure.
But there are also people that there are wrong partners, but there are multiple right partners.
I would say
so. You could make an extraordinary love relationship with a lot of extraordinary people out there.
Like
but there are people that, well, listen to this.
Yeah, let's go this one.
This is another one of our 5 premises. Extraordinary relationships require extraordinary people. You can't make anything without good ingredients. Can't make good wine without good grapes. You can't have a great sports team without great athletes. And you can't have a great relationship if you're a miserable, dysfunctional person. You got to be a good person to be in a relationship with. So the question here is, who am I willing to become to get the kind of relationship that I want? It's hugely important.
It's so powerful. I made a skip because I think that was I'm glad some people are resonating this, but yeah, that is the question. So we skipped the premise here, but we went straight to, you need to be dedicated to your growth to be able to continue as being strong, dedicated partners to yourself. And in your cases, like you said, this first premise is something you solidified recently. And this has been on the basis that you're always growing together and you're learning.
That's the next one. Literally, Jason, let me read it.
I swear I didn't know these questions before.
No, dude, you were like intuitively, you're going through them. Right. So if extraordinary relationships require extraordinary people, what is required of us? Well, you've got to be dedicated to constant growth, both as individuals and in the relationship. And here's what I say about that. Here's what we say about that in our life book. There's no such thing as status quo. Things are either expanding or contracting. They're either growing or dying. If we're not growing, we're stagnating, and we're dedicated to constant growth. So we're always asking ourselves, how can we take ourselves as individuals and our relationship to the next level? And because we have a mindset like that, we're constantly looking for new, exciting, spontaneous ways to make our relationship more loving, more passionate, more sensual, and more enjoyable. We're dedicated to great experiences. We're dedicated to learning and doing new things. We set goals for this stuff. Literally, we have had so much friggin' fun in our 30 years together. It should be fucking illegal. I mean, I'm sorry,
guys.
but and some of it may have been, come to think of it. No, seriously,
we'll keep this off air.
We have literally had such an enjoyable time together over the last 3 decades, and that didn't happen by accident. We set goals for that stuff.
And you know, it's like this, you guys. Anytime, if you're going to get something out of life, you have to put that in.
Engage.
So exactly. So it's about engaging. It's really about, you know, just being courageous and being like, you know what, I am going to try this. I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to go all in here. I'm going to devote myself to this, to anything, to any of the categories, to your love relationship, to your kids, to your career. I mean, that's what life is really about. It's really about totally engaging, you know, and then you get so much out.
Good stuff, babe.
And I think I do have an intuitive pulse on where this is going as well. So let me know if I'm on the right track, because at the basis of when I look at you, like with that growth anchored right into your relationship, it propels every other category. Like this is really at the foundation, and you're doing it together. And so it sounds to me like there's a high priority on your relationship of all the categories you have in the life book.
Yeah. So can we do that one now?
We'll do that.
I would love to.
All right. Wow. So this is our second premise after we made a conscious decision to create this extraordinary love affair. So what does that mean? Well, it means that our relationship is the foundation of our lives. Everything we have is built on our relationship. It's the foundation of our home, obviously, our family, obviously, in our case, our career and our financial life, our emotional life. Our relationship is the base of everything. If it's solid, healthy, and working well, we can handle anything that comes along like a boss, right? Our relationship is what holds everything together. It's the foundation of our lives. And I want to read the next premise to you, which is very connected. What that means is we put each other first. And this is a big difference, big difference about us than most people. I put Missy first before anything else, before my career, before anything else, because if she's okay, everything's okay. I got to focus on one thing.
And vice versa. If he's good in a good spot, the day, the world, it's all so good.
She's okay. My kids are okay. My house runs right. I get fed. It's all good. I get it right. And she does the same thing for me. So it's like, I don't even have to focus on myself. All I have to do is focus on her, and I know I'm going to be taken care of. So
it's almost like this is the motor. This is the motor that goes and makes everything else go. So we've got to keep this well oiled and healthy.
It's so interesting. The only thing I can think about is like a mantra from my dad when I was a kid. He'd come to me and he'd be saying like, you know what, happy wife, happy life. But it's always saying jokingly. But here you're it's and even sometimes it's said with a sort of resentment. It's like, oh, I have this obligation to make my wife happy, to have a happy life, and it's not taken with this energy that I see how you two behave. You make that choice and you jump into making yourselves first with such an energy and enthusiasm that I think is just so honorable and so exciting for people to see as a possibility.
Thanks, bro. Well, I'll tell you what, we also have come up with some really fun ways to make each other happy, so it works out really well.
I love it. Well, here's where I'll throw in a curveball, because I think of something like one of the books that comes to mind is The Way of the Superior Man, David Deida, right? And one of the premises that he has is how a man needs to focus on purpose before partner. And I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but it seems to be the kind of takeaway that a lot of men would take from that book. But here, I guess I want to ask this question, because it sounds like in your case, first purpose is partner, and that works phenomenally well. So I'd love for you.
You just fixed it. You just fixed it. You're exactly right. My purpose is her. Period. So that solves that problem.
And you know, everybody's different. Again, the Lifebook way, everybody's different.
That's right.
True.
Men are different. You know, there's Some are going to go the other way, but for us, that works.
Yeah, just to be clear, Missy and I never put our stuff on other people. Here's the most important thing that we've learned in our 25 years of doing Lifebook. This is literally the most profound, important thing. There is no one right answer for everybody in any area of life. There's no one right diet that's going to work for all 7 billion people. There's no one right love relationship strategy because we're all different. We have different wants, needs, and desires. There is no one right strategy in any area of life for everybody. And when you realize that, you first of all understand that you've got to figure out your own stuff. You can't just friggin' get a cookie cutter from somebody else. And secondly, I think that the worst thing that's happening in the world right now, that is the root of all of our problems, is the notion that my way is the one right way for everybody on this planet. And if you're not down with my program, there's going to be trouble. That's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's not true. We've all got to find our own way, and our own way is going to be different than our neighbor, right? So this is our way. It's certainly, Missy and I have a very dependent relationship. We're one unit.
Well, we made a third thing. We came together as individuals, and our relationship now is that's our baby.
But we know couples, we know couples that have extraordinary relationships, totally different than ours. They're both very independent. They almost live separate lives, but they come together. They're successful. They have a blast. Right? So there's so many different ways to do this. This is our way to do it. And if you can take anything from it, glean anything from it, great. All we're doing is sharing. We don't put our stuff on anyone else ever.
And John hit it hard. The bottom line is it's up to each one of us to discover what really does make us whole and make us happy.
Exactly.
Each one of us, right?
Which is what Lifebook is.
Yeah, right. So I found that for myself. John found that for himself. And now we get to be together in doing that. So it's beautiful. And we're so grateful for that, for sure.
Well, I find it's just such an amazing, powerful premise. And I love how you've never imposed these beliefs on anybody. And so I know some people here are listening and they're saying, wow, I know for me, there's a lot of the premises that I've put in my life book that were inspired because I look at that and, to be honest, makes sense for me. And that's okay because that's just me and everybody else can have their own ways. And so one thing I wanted to dig more into here is you've built these 5 amazing premises. And obviously you get to trickle it down to some of the things that people are more excited about, which is like the strategies, right? Because we're looking for like that tactic. One of the things I found the most beautiful is from what I recall, and correct me if I'm wrong, at 5:30 in the day, is that the time that it's dedicated? There you go.
Yeah.
So share with us a few of those that might inspire people to see how do you keep that spark alive that really embodies these premises.
Okay, so here's what it is. If you want to just encapsulate it in one concept, it comes down to a time commitment. Simple as that. And what we've done.
It's attention.
So if we really mean the words that we just said, we are going to put each other first. Our love is the foundation of our life. We're dedicated to creating this epic love affair, right? How that plays itself out in reality is in a time commitment. And what we've done is we've identified 4, it's this rhythm, this cadence that we have of spending time together. So why don't you take the daily?
Okay, so the daily is, well, every day you hit it right on the head. We stop working at 5 or 5:30. Here it tends to be a little earlier in Hawaii, which is awesome. But usually what will happen.
4:20.
Nice.
Okay. Usually what happens is usually it's just time to stop. Either I'll take a bath, I'll take a walk, we'll both separate and really come down from the day, prepare for each other. Like
She dolls herself up. I mean,
Totally.
we're 30 years in and she's coming down the stairs like some friggin' Hollywood starlet every night. And I'm like, wow.
Oh my
No,
God, I'm all blushy.
That's true.
Okay. But anyway, so we prepare for each other, right? And then we'll take a walk outside around our garden, on the beach here, catch up and talk about, okay, what happened today? Because we work together, we do all of our businesses together. So, but we also, during the day, we kind of tend to divide and conquer sometimes. So we come together and we connect. And that time is usually when we clear the slates for all the final little business things of the day. And that way that it doesn't bleed into our night.
And we go into our romantic night, which
or family, if our family's here, it's family time. So there's a definite clear cut between work and us and family. Because you guys, as entrepreneurs, I'm sure there are many out there, if you don't do that, your life will just be taken away by your business. So
that's for sure.
It's very important to do these,
So that's our daily.
That's daily.
That's our daily ritual. But the most
Love it.
important one, as we look back in the last 30 years, the most important one was a weekly ritual. Missy and I had an overnight date without the kids once a week for 30 years. We've lived in 12 different countries. We travel the world, no matter where we are or what we're doing. An overnight date. And not everyone can do this, and not everyone wants to do it. But what an overnight, when you have kids, we've raised 4 kids and 3 grandkids. When you have kids, having an overnight date with really great childcare that you don't have to worry about, you have the whole evening to be adults and to right? And the whole morning, it's just like, it was an oasis in the middle of the week, our entire marriage.
Well, if you think about it, the word date, you guys, you date before you get married. Why should you stop doing that?
Exactly.
And I know a lot of people don't, and that's so good. You got to keep dating. You got to keep remembering who you fell in love with in the first place, because your life, if you're going to build a big life, it's going to be big. It's going to take over. It can take over. And again, you guys, we come back to our very first premise, which is basically devotion. It's commitment. If you're really going to do this, and you're really going to you have to spend time, consciousness. I liken it to a garden. I love growing my vegetables. So it's like, if you're going to have good veggies, you got to get in there and weed it and love on them and water them and give the sun. That's how it is. It's the same exact thing. It's commitment and devotion, for sure.
And then
I
our last
love
tour,
it.
just traveling a little bit together. We try to take a short trip once a quarter, and it can be a little B&B somewhere where you can just, hunker down for a couple days and just reconnect.
Right.
But the big one was, for a long, long time, once a year, Jason, we would find a nice hotel or a spa, go away for a week, and work on our life vision together every year at the end of the year. And that was a game changer.
That's massive.
That was a game changer.
Love it.
Especially if you're doing big stuff. If you're going to build a big life, that's a big job.
Quite frankly, I took that model from you. I just went to a Six Sense resort last weekend with my partner because it was our 1.5 year anniversary. And then that's what we did. I just took some time writing out the journal, set up the big goals, kind of get some clarity. And these are all insights that I got by going through the process with everyone here.
That's awesome.
I see the clock running, and I do have some questions I want to ask from the audience here, because we've just went through an amazing series of premises that you can all get inspired with. And of course, what I love, again, not being imposed, but if it resonates with you, then you can put it down on paper, and you can realize that when you commit to these kinds of premises, you can build something extraordinary. And one of the questions here from Vidhi, who might there's one that's been voted very high, but it's from an anonymous attendee. It was, any tips for long distance relationships?
Oh,
those are
man.
hard.
Thank God for FaceTime.
Well, look, this is what we're doing. Right? We're in it right now.
No, our daughter's going through that, and it's tough. I mean, we've never had to deal with
It
that.
has 2 sides, I think. It has 2 sides to it, because you can really use it to talk and communicate and get deep, as opposed to going straight to the physical, right?
Yeah.
So I would say,
That's great.
especially in the beginning, 2 of our kids had that kind of long distance thing, and they really got to know the other without jumping into the physical when you're really attached, right? So there's that aspect. I think that you can use that, as opposed to being like, dang it, we
So
can't
go a
be
little
together.
bit deeper into the intellectual side, into the emotional
Yeah.
side, beautiful discussions, because you can't touch each other at that point.
Mm.
And I'll tell you another thing that we all know is that long distance relationships take serious commitment.
Yeah.
More
Mhm.
commitment than they really do.
Yeah.
So those of you who are in that right now, especially because of what the world's going through, we just wish you the best. And thank God for the technology that we have, because can you imagine if you had to
100%.
friggin' write letters and here's a camel and it's got to take the letter? I mean, come on.
Start raising pigeons.
That's right. I would also make a commitment to being together. Like, okay, we're going to be together 18 months or 2 years or 6 months, whatever it is to be apart. Let's plan. Let's get that next together.
Yeah.
Plan it.
I want to squeeze in one more question here from Maria C. This one's about, can you talk about sexuality for a couple that has been married for a long time, 17 years? How to keep the passion for each other alive and not let it die? I feel like you've already you've set some of these strategies with the dating, the weekly date, the daily rituals. Do you have any other tips we could share?
Jason, here's what we should do. We should share the link to the Category 13 movie we made. Guys, we made a half-hour movie that went deep in this, and there's nothing like it out there. Bottom line is this. First year of our relationship, we made a commitment to explore eroticism and sensuality together as a friggin' mission. And we took it seriously. And it has been it's magic. It's a catalyst for things that you
Personal
can't
growth.
imagine. We made a little movie called Category 13. This is just a cute little story. There are 12 categories in Lifebook that we focus on. But we've always had a secret 13th category called our sex life that we never share with anybody. But when we presented at Mind Valley University in Ibiza in 2007, or AFES, 2017, we made a little movie for that presentation, and you're all welcome to watch it and we went deep there.
It's about sex though, so if you're not into
it's about
let's just be clear.
It's about the power. It's about the power that a couple has access to through sex, and what that can do for not just your love relationship, but for every area of your life, your health and fitness, your career success. And you're all welcome to see it if you want.